The night was dark. The house was quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you feel like the world has stopped turning, like time itself has paused. Inside, a young babysitter sat alone, listening to the silence. The silence was almost deafening, broken only by the occasional creak of the old house. It was unsettling. She felt a chill down her spine, the kind of chill that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Something wasn't right. This was the beginning of a night she would never forget. She could feel it in her bones, a sense of impending dread. She had checked on the children. They were sound asleep, their soft breaths the only sign of life in the house. She tried to watch TV, but the silence kept pulling her back. The static on the screen seemed to echo the static in her mind. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside the window made her heart pound. Each sound seemed amplified in the stillness of the night. As the hours ticked by, the feeling of unease grew stronger. The ticking of the clock was a constant reminder of the passing time, each second dragging on. She could have sworn she heard whispers, soft and indistinct, coming from the hallway, whispers that seemed to call her name, beckoning her to come closer. Her pulse quickened. She told herself it was just the wind, but deep down she knew it was something more. She tried to rationalize her fear. It was an old house. Old houses made noises, but these noises felt different, more sinister. Old houses made noises, but deep down a primal instinct told her otherwise, an instinct that screamed at her to run, to get out while she still could. Something was wrong, very wrong, and as the night wore on, she would come to realize just how right that feeling was. In another town, on another night, another babysitter experienced a different kind of horror. This was not the first time strange things had happened in this house, but tonight would be different. She was reading a bedtime story to the little girl she was watching when she heard it, a soft scratching sound coming from inside the closet. It was faint at first, almost like a whisper, but it grew louder with each passing second. The little girl's eyes widened with terror. "What's that?" she whispered, clutching her teddy bear even tighter. Her voice was barely audible, filled with fear and uncertainty. The babysitter forced a smile. "It's probably just the cat," she said, her voice trembling slightly. She tried to sound confident, but her hands were shaking, betraying her own fear. She cautiously approached the closet door, her heart pounding in her chest. Each step felt like an eternity, the scratching sound growing louder and more insistent. The scratching sound grew louder, more insistent. It was as if something was desperately trying to get out, or perhaps trying to lure her in. She took a deep breath and threw open the door. Her heart was racing, and she could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The closet was empty, except for a single child-sized shoe lying on the floor. It was an old, worn-out shoe covered in dust, a shoe that hadn't been there before. The babysitter's mind raced with questions. Where did it come from? Whose shoe was it? And why was it here now? The baby monitor crackled to life, filling the quiet room with static noise. The babysitter looked at the screen, her blood running cold as she saw the empty crib. The baby's crib was empty, but that wasn't the worst part. The room seemed eerily still, as if holding its breath. Staring back at her from the darkness of the baby's room were two glowing eyes, piercing through the shadows, eyes that seemed to burn with an unnatural intensity, almost as if they were alive with a malevolent force. Panic surged through her. She raced to the baby's room, her mind racing, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. The room was empty. The crib was empty. The silence was deafening, amplifying her fear. The eyes were gone. She checked the entire house, her fear growing with each passing moment, her breath quickening. Finally, she found the baby, asleep in her own bed, safe and sound, completely unaware of the terror that had gripped the house. But the image of those glowing eyes stayed with her long after that night, haunting her thoughts and dreams, a mystery that remained unsolved. These stories, though fictionalized for this telling, are based on real experiences shared by real people. They serve as chilling reminders that even in the most ordinary of settings, terror can lurk. These stories are not meant to scare you, but to awaken you to the reality that things are not always as they seem. They are a reminder to be vigilant, to trust your instincts, and to never underestimate the power of the unknown. Because sometimes the most terrifying monsters are not the ones we imagine, but the ones that exist just beyond our perception, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves.